Welcome to the Tenant Podcast. I'm Todd Pearson. I'm here with my partner, Wes Brown. Today we are back in Denver, Colorado, in the studio of Detour, and we're going to be talking about a multitude of things today. Specifically, what we want to talk to Detour about is this new book that he has written. It's called Be the Artist, the Interactive Guide to a Lasting Art Career. And we want to talk to Detour and talk about how he became an artist and get some of the history behind that. So, Detour, how are you today?
Good. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you for allowing us this time in your day, because I know you're a busy guy and you have a lot of stuff going on all the time. So I appreciate the fact that you are willing to sit down with us.
Yeah, I went to your website and saw some of your portrait work that you've done, and I fell in love with them. Awesome. I mean, just the brightness of them all. The Nina Simone one is just incredible.
Awesome.
Love the Malcolm X one.
Yeah.
And then the murals is really awesome as well. So, so it's really cool.
I was doing one today and got to do one tomorrow, or stay on it till probably next Sunday, because like I said earlier, it's like just unseasonably warm. So like trying to get as much painting in outside as possible.
Well, we appreciate the fact that you're willing to take a couple hours out of your time today to do this. So,
it's good.
Yeah.
So you have multiple murals going on right at the moment?
Well, kind of, yeah. So like I have one in Boulder and then trying to do one across the street actually. But got to do the mock-up and everything for it. So working on that and trying to see if I can get it done before it gets too cold again. So that's like, it's like, because we're in Colorado, it's like we have all seasons, not like Miami, where it's like you can paint all day, every day. It's like you got to get in while it's warm, so it's like, I mean, it's like mural season is usually like late spring to late fall, and then it sort of quiets down again. And then it's like, okay, if I have a chance to get out again, I'm going to definitely get out.
Right on, man. Let's go back to the beginning. I want to hear this story. I was at an event that you put on at Redline Gallery a 3 weeks back. And I think your story, not only is it inspiring, but I think it's really interesting and how you came to where you are today. Can we talk about that to start this off?
Yeah, it's, my dad's military, West Point grad and everything. And both my mom and dad were high school sweethearts in Georgetown, South Carolina. So pretty much they were together from the beginning. So like my dad went to West Point, had me afterwards, but my brother before that. We were basically sort of moving around everywhere because he was like a career military officer. So born in Dayton, Ohio, then moved to Germany, then to South Carolina, then to Fort Lee, Virginia, to Charlotte, North Carolina, then to Granite City, Illinois, back to Germany, back to Belleville, Illinois, and then to Denver. So like moving around a lot. So it's like I went to 2 high schools, 2 middle schools type of thing. But it was fun for me to sort of like make new friends. But to make new friends, I use art to sort of like to do that. And after you do something for a long time, it's basically like you're good at it. You start to get better and better and better, because whereas other people sort of drop off. So basically did art the whole time. And then it wasn't until high school where I started like doing work and putting out to the public. So that was when I was in like homeroom and there was this airbrush that was there. And my homeroom was like the art studio space. Mm-hmm. So I had like all the art supplies like at my, fingertips and everything. So I was playing with the airbrush and like got really good at it. Started doing like t-shirts. So I drew like, I don't know how many SpongeBob t-shirts and then Tupac t-shirts. And then, so I got really good at like portraits and faces and working really fast and then like shading. So I was doing airbrush for almost 10 years, selling on eBay and everything too. So it was like making money on the side while going to school. But once I moved to Colorado, that's when I actually started doing stuff on canvas, and then started sort of incorporating sort of like mixed media to the canvases. So like broken records, like vinyl records, and I would paint on top of that. And people loved that sort of style, something new for them, and then started adding in speakers to my paintings as well. So that was like something new, because I always wanted to do artwork, but I wanted it to be different every time I did it. So it was like adding in new technology and sort of just like mediums. So started doing that and really sort of making a name for myself a little bit. But this is when I was going to school full time, and I was going to school for business, and then got my MBA after, about a year off. After doing my bachelor's, worked on campus the whole time, basically saving up money for the master's stuff. And then after I graduated with my master's, I went to do advertising for a quick sec. Hated it, ended up, quitting that thing, and then moving to Tanzania after trying to join the military, but unsuccessfully because I tore my knee, which was, I guess, a blessing in disguise. Tore my knee, was trying to donating artwork to this nonprofit, and basically talked to them about going to Tanzania with them next time, because they do girls' education in Tanzania. And they sent my contact to someone who ran a school out there, or founded a school out there. And basically he called me up and said, hey, do you want to come out and volunteer? And almost a month and a half later, I was out in Tanzania, basically just living life and volunteering. And spent about 7 months there, came back, and that's when basically I decided to do art full time. But it was good, because when I left, that was like 2013, December 31st. And when I landed, it was like 2014, January 1st. So it was like a New Year's resolution. And that's when marijuana was legalized in Colorado. So basically, everyone was moving here for marijuana. So yeah, so when I came back, it was like Denver on crack. It was basically, or Denver on marijuana. It was basically people were opening up dispensaries. They get CBD oil and everything, hemp t-shirts, all this, bunch of just stuff happening in the economy. So they can't stop building enough. It's like they're throwing up every building on every corner, which means there's a lot of white walls, which means, it's like there's room for artists. And the city's doing a great job in terms of like trying to promote the artists, in terms of like getting jobs and sort of like connecting them with developers, and sort of, just like the whole ecosystem when it comes to the creative arts out here. So basically, when I came back, got myself a studio, the space we're in now. My friend Adam Gordon bought the building and sort of wanted to turn into like an artist space. So he hit me up and said, hey, do you want to, have a studio space here? And I was like, yeah. And, basically that's when I first started trying to be a full-time artist, was like coming back from Tanzania, figuring out, getting over my fear of failure and saying, hey, you know what? I want to just do art full time. But because I didn't go to school for art, it was like intimidating, because, when I was asked to do a resume for like a residency or like an application, an artist resume, it was like I was putting, Excel spreadsheet. I know that, it was like all the wrong things that you need.
Right.
And I was like, why am I not getting in? All these different things. And, just like as I started diving deep into, how to be a full-time creative, and like the idea of where I wanted to go in the art world, because there's so many different spaces and sort of, niches and nooks and crannies to sort of get into, and, you can carve your own path and everything. So like trying to figure out exactly, how to do that. That's when I was like, started to learn about, this is how this actually works. This is the gatekeeper, or, this doesn't have a gatekeeper, or this is, where people go to get into a museum, or this is the residency you have to sort of get into. So it's like learning all that on the fly, and like, how to price my work, how do I make money? Why do people buy my work? So I was learning all that as I was just like trying to be that full-time creative. And over the years, past 5 years, it's just been sort of nonstop, basically just trying to make it. And along the way, getting into not only traditional, sort of like the traditional studio work, so like portraitures and stuff that I do and commissions, to more interactive work and sort of working with public art and sort of installations, and trying to figure out, what can I do with a museum? What can I do with a bigger gallery? What can, how do I get to Korea and just do art full time? Or how do I do all these different things that I want to do? And sometimes it's like it's not sort of laid out at all for you. So it's like oh, I have to figure out how to get people to buy into my idea. How do I sort of carve a position for me into this residency to where now they're flying me out to do this, and this type of thing. So, it's still like that today. Trying to figure out how to do that, because right now it's like a whole new world, and no artist really knows exactly how to get there. They can't build a template for you to follow. It's really just like trying to help navigate you in terms of like trying to figure out how, you can sort of navigate it with your own career. So it's fun. It's an always ever evolving challenge, but it's like something that I like to tackle. But it's like starting to give me some gray hairs though. Yeah.
The one thing like I said, when I checked your website out, is you definitely have a very specific style with your artwork. How did you develop that? Did you say, I mean, I know it's a kind of a process.
Yeah, it's definitely a process. It's, so like a combination of like different things that I've liked about other artists as well. But, one of the things that I did to really sort of develop that style was, the live art. And it was like when I came back, and I was doing a lot of oil painting. So, slow and methodical, and sort of like getting really detailed with small brushes and matching flesh tones to sort of get the color just right. And that was sort of like my first body of work, doing that with the interactive stuff. And, it was okay, but it was like I was in the studio for 7 hours a day, just painting, take a break, come back another almost 7 hours and paint some more. And I was sort of isolated. And then my friend, DJ AL, he was doing this night called Art and Soul at Ophelia's downtown. It's like a really nice sort of restaurant, concert venue. And he asked me to do some live art on stage for the Art and Soul night. And that's when I was like, I can't do oils. I have to learn how to, use acrylics and paint really fast. So, I was like, okay, I want to do a Marvin Gaye piece, and then I have to do it really fast. Okay, so let me time myself. So like I was in my basement basically trying to do a really large Marvin Gaye piece, timing myself in terms of just like, how do I complete it in like 3.5, 4 or 5 hours? And from there, it was like, okay, I can't really match skin tone, so I have to use paint straight out the bottle. And I can't really get too sort of detailed in every area. So what do I sort of focus on and sort of leave some stuff really loose? So, I mean, that's from that first live art show, it sold right on stage. People loved it. And I was like, oh. And it's like, it was fun for me, a lot more fun than, just trying to match a photo that I took or something like that, or a photo. So basically I was like, okay, let me do this again, see, doing someone else. And then, as I started doing more and more and more, started getting really loose with the colors, experimenting with other colors, the tools that I use. So not just a paintbrush, like a palette knife, and then, squeegees and sort of trowels, and, getting more stuff at Home Depot to sort of create the painting, and then building my own canvas. So I was learning a lot just on that. And like, why do people want to buy my work? How to price my work? Because people are like, oh, how much are you selling this for? And it's like, nah, I have to figure out a price now. So it was like on the fly in terms of like, okay, it's supply and demand. You learn all that stuff in school, but really it's different when it's like your work and you got to do it on the spot type of thing. So, okay, how do I price my work? Okay, how much demand is out there? How do I not saturate myself a lot? And, learning about, now I have to figure out transportation for the piece, or how to deliver a piece, shipping a piece, talking to clients and everything. If they want to do a commission, what do I do? The contract, or how do I want to, structure the process and everything. So that really gave me sort of like a deep dive into how to sort of run a business that's sort of like people are always coming at you. But the live art really sort of got me into that style. Right. Of sort of just like all these wild colors. And then from there, it was like translating that to the murals and street art when I was invited to do a mural festival in town, Crush Walls. And from there, it was like, okay, let me figure out how to use spray paint to sort of match what I did on the canvas. And after that, it was just like slowly just progressing in that style, figuring out, okay, how do I use not only spray paint, but latex paint as well? How do I use these rollers to sort of get this texture and match it like on a canvas type of thing? Because you can't lay it down flat, you can't lay a wall down flat like you do a canvas. So it's like learning and learning and learning, how do I match that same thing on a mural on the side of a wall, or, any textured wall or surface. So it was like a long, almost 3 or 4 years process of like slowly honing in on, how do I sort of create the same style and colors, and actually just like not stay, I guess, the same too. Like, how do I jazz it up every time I do it? So for me, I'm always learning. There's a couple of artists I still, look to today to sort of like, okay, this is how they're doing it. Okay, let me see how I can sort of improve my work in a way to match that same emotion and everything. But, that's really where a lot of my style came from, was just like the live art and doing stuff really fast. And from there, it's like adding in.
When you're doing live art in a studio, like in that setting in the restaurant, how long does it take you to do like one piece?
Well, the thing was, like, with the live art, I couldn't finish, having a blank canvas from start to finish in like a good 4 hours. So I did the entire background, like a good background wash, like just random colors everywhere, put the sketch down, and then filled in like the really detailed areas, like the eyes and the nose and lips. And after that, that's when it's like I can spend a good 3 or 4 hours doing everything else.
Okay.
And then completing it, at the end of the night, and having it sort of like dry to where someone could take it off the canvas and like walk home with it, which is what a lot of people did.
Right.
And then these pieces were about 6 by 4 feet. So they were, really sizable pieces.
My God.
Mainly because I was learning, okay, it's like the right size for someone to say, oh, I can spend $1,000 on that tonight,
right,
on a credit card. And it'll look good in my living room to be the centerpiece of the living room and everything. So it's like the biggest one that they have on the wall. And having the biggest thing on the wall, people will come into someone's house and start talking about it. So It's like learning, okay, this is why people are starting to recognize my work, because they're walking into people's places, the biggest one, it's really large, and, they have it up in front in their apartment or, lobby area type of thing. So like that's why I started work really, really big. But yeah, so I mean, it was sort of like a mix between, I would prepare the canvas and everything beforehand, and then stop until I was like, okay, to finish it, it'll take me about 3 or 4 hours. And, you get a lot time for people wanting to talk to you type of thing too.
Yeah.
So it was like, I wanted to make sure I can do all that and still have like a piece done. But just like, even with them sort of watching me too, it's like people love to see the process of like how it's created and everything. Like, oh, what is he using? What type of paint is that? So people wanted to follow that journey. Because it's different when it's just like it's already done and you're looking at it.
Right.
Whereas kind of like people just sit and watch you for a good, 3 or 4 hours, and they're like, oh, I saw that piece and it was like, I didn't know what it was. And then it just became, a masterpiece type of thing. And then now I want to buy it. So like trying to understand like, people want that story behind the canvas as well. And give you sort of like an experience, because now when it's on the wall, it's like, oh, I was there when the artist sort of like painted it in 3 or 4 hours type of thing too. So it's like giving more experience as well. So I was learning about that too. Yeah.
So do you still do live art, or do they do?
No.
Okay.
I did it for like a year straight, really hard.
Yeah.
Any live painting I do is like mostly murals now. A lot of the sort of the live art stuff on stage and everything, it's like it just takes a lot out of you. And
right.
then it was like killing my back and everything. So I stopped doing that. And plus I didn't want to do painting after painting after painting after painting after painting.
Right.
So wanted to get into something else. So like that was just like a time in my life where it was really instrumental in terms of just like learning a lot of stuff and like for building my style and sort of like refining sort of like what I wanted to do and sort of like carving a niche for me. But now it's like getting away from like the live art stuff, because like I said, it was a point in my life where it was like really fun. And then now it's like I'm moving on to sort of the murals and sort of interactive work. And like a lot of the stuff I do now just takes a lot of time to where it's like I can't really force it or like speed it up at all. But yeah, I mean, but I may do it every once in a while type of thing, but it's like nothing that I sort of go out there and look for at all.
Sure. Well, I keep looking behind you because Tupac's is there, and I love the looseness of your paint strokes, and and the vivid colors. It's really, I can see why people would want to buy it and have that. Like, I can't even imagine like a 6 foot by 4 foot in your house, because it would be just the vivid colors. You couldn't help but talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like doing work like that, but then it's like getting outside of most of the pop art. Now it's like, getting into more of the installation based pieces that more abstract. And then, now it's been sort of getting to, more photography, doing my own photos, and like the murals that I do, a lot are from the people in the community. So doing more to sort of overlap some of the different stuff that I do. So it's not like it's just a painting. It's like, okay, it's a painting, but also talks about people in the community type of thing too. So, it's a journey.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to back it up just a little bit. You've always been creative. You've always done art, it sounds like, since, you were a child. What was the thought behind going to get a degree in business as opposed to going to like an art school, since you were so,
Yeah. I mean, I was about to do this school called Full Sail, and I think it's Orlando. And it's like a farm place for people who work in Disney and all these other music parts and everything, or animators and, film and television. And, that's what I wanted to do for a while, because I was doing like 3D animation in high school. Even won an award for it too. But it was like a non-accredited. I think it was non-accredited at the time. And it was sort of really expensive, and it was in Florida, which is like, that's the one place I want to be because it's so hot. But ended up doing community college first, getting my associate's degree because of the cost, and then went to University of Colorado. Mainly because like my dad's in the military and my mom's like a college professor. So they were like, get a business degree type of thing. And if you don't really know exactly what you want to do type of thing. So, and I didn't really mind it too much because I was doing a lot of sort of like business stuff related anyway. It was like, selling airbrush t-shirts on eBay. I have to deal with like people demanding sort of work and clients and stuff like that. And then I was breakdancing at the time, but I was organizing the jam. So it's kind of like talking to the venue owner, talking to people coming in from out of town, making sure they have hotels. And so like I was doing all this business stuff anyway on the side.
A nice extension of what, because you already had this kind of entrepreneur mindset going on.
Yeah. So it was like, it was already natural. So it was kind of like, let me just do business in school anyway. And then, I still glad I did it. So it was like, I went to University of Colorado, Denver. And then the MBA was because I was trying to do law school, and I was studying for like a good 6 months for the LSATs, and took the LSATs and hated it. And I was like, I don't want to do this at all. It was like, because I was like, I did average, but it was like, I don't want to be average in a space where it's like, I don't even want to be in here anyway. So I was like, let me do the GMAT. So I did the GMATs and got into business school, and then did my master's degree, my MBA. And that was just like, because I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do afterwards. So like, let me get some more student debt. So it was like, let me do that. So, but it was fun, meeting people and everything, like learning more, sort of like higher level, sort of like business strategy, and like, okay, this is why this company does this, and this is how this company navigates, the world. So I use a lot of that in the art world as well, because it's almost the same thing. You won't see certain artists in certain spaces because that's not their brand, or, you'll see this artist work with this artist, or this artist in this publication, or, why do museums do this? So it's like, you're just learning more and more about the inner workings of, the art world when you start to apply a lot of the business stuff to it. So for me, it was, more about just getting a good foundation, to sort of rely on, because you can use business in everything.
Absolutely.
And then like I was always doing art no matter what. So I was like always on the side, like looking at YouTube videos and hanging out with other artists and sort of like doing small boutique shows and sneaker shops and things like that. So I was still doing the art, but like the business stuff was something I had to go to school for, and get a degree for, type of thing. But, I was still doing everything on the side.
I think that was really smart.
Yeah.
Really, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, you can, with YouTube and all the technology we have now, you can figure out the art thing.
Yeah.
But the business part, that's where artists fall down. And that's where this book comes in that we're going to talk about. Before we get into that, though, I want to ask you, because you kind of mentioned in the event that I attended that that when you were abroad and doing the work, volunteer work, that was kind of a catalyst for you to decide that, hey, I think I can do this as an artist. I think I can make this jump. Was there a specific moment when you were
No, I mean, there wasn't a specific moment. It was just like an overall experience.
Yeah. What was that?
Mainly because it was going to a place where I was just off of crutches from tearing my LCL, and then going to Tanzania. It wasn't really even like a culture shock. It was just like getting in a whole new environment, just trying to figure it out, type of thing. Uh-huh. And you'll start to learn like how much distraction you have in your own life, or it's just how much doubt you have in your own life, type of thing. And then the safety nets that you have are things you take for granted out here in the US. So like over there, it's like, you if I were to tear an ACL, you may not see a doctor that could sort of diagnose you correctly or have it heal correctly. Over here, it's like you can definitely get it checked out and everything. But over there, it's like any small mistake you make can cost you a lot. So it's like being over there, you get away from sort of like those fears of like failing. So for me, it was like coming back, it was like, why not do it? You only have one life to live, type of thing. So let me just figure it out, give myself a year to figure it out, because, if I do fail, it's like, I can always do bankruptcy and, start over again. I have family sort of supporting me, type of thing, but it wasn't like, it's a dire consequence, and plus I had my MBA as well. So like I can always sort of get a regular job, type of thing too. So it was like over there, I was just learning to not get distracted all the time by sort of doubts and sort of technology and news and media and sort of like these things that you sort of pressure yourself with, and just go for it and just see how it goes. And, actually sometimes just doing it and asking for forgiveness later if it doesn't go wrong or doesn't go right. So for me, it was just like going out there and just like getting in a new environment, where, no one knows you, no one sort of has any perception of you. So it's like you can just be yourself and be free a little bit more. So for me, it was like a good life-changing experience. And then coming back, it's kind of like, okay, let me figure it out. Let me just go for it, type of thing. But yeah, so I mean, the Tanzania trip definitely was a big difference. So like the guy, Peter Lewis, who founded the organization, it's called the Indigenous Education Foundation of Tanzania. He's a tall, skinny white guy, loves basketball. And, he I think how he built the school was like he volunteered out in the village, 1 year and loved it. So he stayed and wanted to create a school and was building with the community, and then built a school one classroom at a time, type of thing. They call it in form, so like one grade level at a time. And basically just built it up to be sort of like a school that, is sort of like nationally recognized in Tanzania. And it's in a small village where usually the schools are sort of border schools. That's what it's called, border schools, where it's like kids go there, okay, and the parents pay. But like a lot of the villagers couldn't pay in that area, so it's like he built one to where it's like if your kids can get into it and they're smart enough, it's like you just pay like a small fraction of the thing and they can get in. So like he built that, and now it's like I said, nationally recognized, but he loves basketball. So he figured out a way to build basketball courts on the school. And he had like a Groton school, I believe, in the East Coast, Boston. Basically, it's like, like a prep school, but they do a yearly sort of service activity where they go out to Tanzania, and he had them sort of come out and build a basketball court with them. And he's like the type of person where it's kind of like he'll just do it, and then like if it goes wrong, he'll ask for forgiveness later. But it's like almost kind of like a Larry David character, from Curb Your Enthusiasm. Yeah. It's like he'll just say anything, do anything. He has no sort of, I wouldn't say no filter, but like he'll just go for it. So it's like learning a little bit to be more of that rather than super, super cautious was like a big thing too. It's like, just go for it. Don't always ask questions, or, it's like you don't always have to follow the rules type of thing. If no one catches you, it's fine. You're good. Because that's where like a lot of people, sort of make it, because like sometimes they sort of bend the rules type of thing, where it's kind of like, you just, let me just build a school. Yeah. Let me just build a school and figure it out type of thing later. Yeah.
Sometimes being naive works in your favor, I think. A lot of times, actually, like just jumping in and doing it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those people are the CEOs and sort of like the leaders of today. Because I was one of my favorite authors, Malcolm Gladwell, wrote in his book that a lot of the CEOs are dyslexic, but they had to overcome that. So it's kind of like they learned strategies on like getting around reading an entire textbook type of thing. And so like because of like they have to be really innovative and sort of creative on how they sort of gather information and read information, it's like they just think differently. And, you're just using some of that stuff to sort of figure out how to make it in the art world type of thing. So like not having a BFA or an MFA, it's like, okay, I don't have sort of like this idea of what a traditional artist sometimes does, or, it's like, oh, I didn't know I'm not supposed to do that type of thing. It's like being naive and just going for it. And, it's like, that helped me out a lot. Not having sort of like these boundaries or limitations, because I think I'm supposed to be this one type of artist.
Yeah, I think that was well said. I think when you go to a traditional art school, there's so much structure. You're supposed to be this artist and creative and stuff, but they still kind of like get you into this thought process that this is the way you have to do it. And I think sometimes that backfires on people,
Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's a whole new world now. It's like the kid who opens up boxes and plays with toys is the most paid YouTuber ever.
Right.
And he was like 3 when he opened up his first box or something. It's like, I wouldn't say there's no rules. It's just like there's just way too many avenues to sort of go to sort of limit yourself nowadays. So it's like just do what you want or do what you feel is right, and just like you can just figure it out from there type of thing. So that's sort of like my attitude when it comes to anything I do, when it comes to anything creative. Yeah.
That Tanzania experience sound like it was really phenomenal and eye-opening, and it sounds like it was a real catalyst for you to like say, you know what, I'm just going to do this.
Yeah. I mean,
I can do it.
I advise anyone and everyone to try to do the same thing. When it comes to just like getting outside your comfort zone. It's like I had to learn a little bit of Swahili. I was able to get around. It's like you don't know what's out there until you sort of just travel out there. And then it's kind of like, oh, it's not as bad as I thought, I mean, that's sort of like that limitation when it comes to, the fear of failure. It's like, oh, I didn't know it was going to be sort of like this easy, or, it's not as bad as I thought it would be, sort of like trying to do this thing I wanted to do for a long time.
I think it's one of the best educations you can get, traveling and meeting people from different parts of the world and different cultures. And you realize that we're really not all that different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They had a little Beyonce poster in their barber shop too. I was like, oh, okay. You guys know me. Yeah. I mean, I get lucky because my dad's military and we moved around everywhere. So I was like used to sort of like meeting new people and sort of like trying to figure out ways to connect with people and stuff like that. So it's like, I can't imagine like staying in one place for long periods of time and what that must feel like. Because sometimes like I met people who never moved outside of their own city. sometimes. And it's kind of like, oh, you stayed in Boulder your whole life? And it's like, whew, it's and then like when you start to get older, it's more and more daunting to sort of get outside of that type of thing. So, I tell artists to sort of get outside their comfort zone early and often.
It's crazy to think when people don't leave.
Yeah.
Like when I talk to people that have never ventured south into New Mexico, I'm like, it's a state that borders our state.
Yeah.
Like, why have you not
Yeah.
experienced it,
Yeah.
So let's talk about this book. I want to know what you as a successful artist, like you have a thriving, successful art career. Why write a book about how to be an artist?
So that came from this post on Instagram I do called Art Tip Tuesdays. And that started when people kept asking me about sort of the behind the scenes of like some of the work I was doing. So like the paint I was using, the process, the technique, and basically, that one post that I started doing once a week continued over the course of like 5 years. And I'm still doing it till this day. And basically it's like started to grow from the techniques and the materials to the nuances of the art world and like how not to compare yourself, a lot of the mental health side of things, how to get over rejection or understanding it's a numbers game. So all that stuff is things that I run into all the time. And because I run into it, I know a lot of other artists run into it. And really it was just like trying to be as helpful as possible. So people kept asking me to do a book, but it's like I just push it off type of thing. It's like, yeah, I'll do one day. But my friend Oren reached out to a publisher, Fulcrum, for me and said, hey, my friend Thomas, is thinking about doing a book. Do you want to meet him? And they knew of my work because they did photos in front of my work before for Instagram posts. So they met with me. I basically had to put together like a quick PowerPoint in terms of what I wanted to do and what the book was going to be about. And, it was like really quick, but I didn't have anything written other than like, here's some Instagram posts that I did. And they were like, oh, this is cool. And they said, yeah, let's actually go forward with this. So, basically sign the contract to do a book. And basically they gave me a deadline of, I think about 6 months to sort of get in. Oh no, about 7 months to get in a draft. And from there, it was just like writing it or just vomiting everything I knew or wanted to talk about into like some Google Docs, and basically built up good sort of tree of folders with all these different topics and subtopics and things. And then started to put it together, and then started to learn InDesign. So I could sort of like fit it in the book that I wanted and sort of have the layout that I wanted. Cause it's like I wanted to write the book that I would want to pick up. Mm-hmm. They say that for everything. It's like create the thing you wanted sort of to create or consume. So it's like, this is the sort of book I wanted to do, which is like, small, nimble. It's like a Moleskine sized journal. You can write into it. So it's like a Swiss Army knife. So it's kind of like not comprehensive, because a lot of books that are comprehensive are just really big. And when you're trying to reach everyone, it's sometimes like you reach no one because you're so broad. So like this one was like more about teaching artists how to fish for themselves and sort of like what things to look out for and sort of all these little sort of the whys behind some of the things in the art world. So like I think when artists have that information, they're more capable of navigating the art world based off of the practice that they have, because everyone's different. Not every sort of piece of advice would sort of fit the same with everyone. So like trying to teach artists the why behind, like, it's a numbers game sometimes, like just knowing that, that will help artists, figure out, okay, let me apply when there's like a down year for this residency, or, I didn't get in because, there's 1,000 applicants versus the 100 applicants that applied the year before. So now I'm not down on myself for not getting in. So it's like stuff like that. So it was like a lot of that sort of crammed into a book where I was like, I want people to sort of pick this up and sort of figure out how to get to that next level in their career, or figure out mid-career can help you sort of get a little bit further, because there's a lot of artists that were before social media and Instagram. So it's kind of like you have these artists in their 40s and 50s and 60s and 70s talking about, how do I still make it as an artist today when everyone is not going to the gallery to sort of check out or follow the artist. Like, no, they're on TikTok or Instagram. How do I sort of navigate that? So it's like not only for like the beginning artists, but also artists just like trying to sort of reevaluate exactly how they're going to sort of make their practice sustainable. So for me, it was like something that I really wanted to do, because there was no book like that out there right now.
There is none.
Yeah. So for me,
and you did
like,
it, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something I would want to pick up and be like, actually, this is why the gallery, or this is how to price my work, or this is something I need to look out for trademarking and things like that. So, for me, it's like also enlisting the advice from all these various creatives. So like in here, I just didn't talk to visual artists. It was like Jade Zuberi, who is like an amazing house dancer. He quit his job and basically quit school to do dance full time. And he's been sort of like everywhere. Like, he did residencies and sort of competitions in Japan for long periods of time. He was originally from Detroit, but like moved to Vegas. But, the guy's just traveling everywhere. And like, okay, how do you go from high schooler who loves dance to like actually making it your full-time job type of thing? So it's like from getting advice from him to another friend that I had for a while, Jay Harris, who's like she was born and raised in Colorado, and then she loves video production, loves videography, loves making movies, short movies, things like that. And she now produces for VH1 and MTV, and she's living out in California. So, but it was like her going to Atlanta to help a friend out with some filming turned into like a job with Black Girls Rock, and like doing their video production, and then moving to VH1 with the reality TV stuff, and then she's learning from that. So it's like she had to make that decision to, okay, let me move from Colorado to where things are happening, and then figure out how to network and everything. So it's like getting advice from a lot of people like that, I thought was really, really instrumental, rather than just all visual artists. So for me, it was like making it to where any creative can sort of pick it up and figure out, this is something that I can sort of read to sort of help me figure out, how to navigate some of the stuff that I'm going through, like to figure out how to get to where I want to be.
Well, let me just say that this is an incredible book. It really is like the Bible of how to be an artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I commend you for writing it. And it's incredibly concise and well thought out, from what you mentioned before, as far as the size of it.
Yeah.
It's the size of a journal.
Yeah.
And it fits easy into a messenger bag or with your computer bag or whatever, to the way it's laid out, as far as it's written from an artist standpoint. You can see as you thumb through it, you're not going to get overloaded with information, but the information is so concise. And so you're like, wow. That's what I find myself doing as I'm reading it. I'll read a section and I'll go, that totally makes sense. Like, why wasn't I applying that before? Or why hadn't I heard about this before? And you break it up, because a lot of artists have, they're a little ADD, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that you have this really pertinent information. Then you break it up with, like, here we're talking art school, where I just turn randomly to this page and it lays out the pros and cons. And then I love that you sprinkle this throughout your book. You have places to take notes and to doodle, but you also have this section throughout that's called Your Googles.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily specific things. You kind of lay it out as like how you would search for this information. So it stays pertinent even out over the course of time. It'll still be pertinent to your search.
Oh, yeah.
Instead of just giving people like, hey, go to this specific website.
Yeah.
You're giving them that information. So, I mean, it is really smart, man.
Yeah. I mean, it was one thing was like, how do I make it to where it's not outdated? Right out the gate. Like I did a quote from one individual, and then he left that job. So he's like right before the book got released. So like I was like telling him about, I got you in the book and everything. Here's the book. And he was like, oh man, I left that job. So like the title on there is changed. So like the books can get dated really fast. So I understood that. So like adding in a section to where it's kind of like, I want you to research it rather than give you that information, so that, you know, when you're Googling it, you're going to get the most up-to-date information. And then it's kind of like, I'm not giving you anything. It's like, you have to do the work to sort of research it. And then it's kind of like adding in, you know, art residencies, and then having in parentheses your location. So it's kind of like teaching you, okay, this is how I should look up information for myself in my area. Because not everyone who follows me is from the US or from Colorado. So it's like I have a lot of people from Europe and the UK or Australia or Africa, things. So it's kind of like trying to make sure it's is relevant in other places as well. So like that was the goal for me, is to make it to where it's sort of really easily digestible, to where it's sort of like each section is 1 to 3 pages. You're able to read that one section in, you know, a good, could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, but then it's like, I want you to spend a good 5 hours looking up the people that gave you a quote, or looking up the Googles and looking up sort of like the homework and everything. So it's like, you know, you can get that information, but then it's like you have to do the work to sort of really apply it to your own practice. So having a lot of that, and then even in the back with the added reading and resources, like adding in not only sort of like the stuff that I listen to, but what other people listen to. So like podcasts and sort of apps to use, or websites to go to, or documentaries to sort of look at, or, you know, just all these different little resources that artists and creatives go to sort of get creative. But it's not like you're posting up all your resources all the time. So like having a place in the back where people can go to and just say, oh, so this is like a collection of podcasts I should listen to, because it relates to not only art, but it's like I have like the Malcolm Gladwell book in the back, where it's kind of like The Tipping Point, and some of his other books really helped me out understand, you know, how do I sort of overcome a big behemoth sort of company. So like if I'm trying to compete with this big name artist or all these big name galleries, and I wanted to do it all alone, what can I sort of leverage as sort of like leverage to sort of get over that hump? You know, it's like one of his book, David and Goliath, helped me out when it came to how do I turn my weaknesses into strength. You know, all artists and creatives, just people in general, should like have that knowledge. So like that's why I was like throwing in as much resources just to help you out, not only in your creative career, but just like mentally, and sort of like getting a little bit stronger in your daily life and everything. So, I mean, trying to do that was also sort of a goal. So like making it to where you write in a book, you doodle in it, you highlight it, you mark it up, and you make it fit your practice. And then you go back to it for references, or, you know, going back to it to sort of figure out, oh, this is the note I took type of thing, or this is this artist that was talking about this. Let me look them up and everything. And everyone in there is sort of like active. So, I mean, you can look up anyone I use as for a quote and, you know, go to their website or talk to them on Instagram, things like that. So it's like, I wanted it to be something to where, you know, it's a living book, to where it's like, you can actually see everyone in there, see how active they are, and actually feel like, oh, this is people who are in it today. And, you know, they're going through the same thing I am, and this book is going to help me out.
I love how you sprinkled those quotes in there, and I love how there's always like additional information in those quotes, or when you highlight somebody and their information, you have these little breakouts. So you have kind of what you feel and what you've put in there, and then you have like another perspective from a professor, another artist, and I think that's really smart, man. I mean, what you said before, I think, is really pertinent. I think this is applicable to whatever you do as far as an art form is concerned. I'm going to actually buy another one for my daughter, who's an actor and is studying theater, because there's stuff I found in here. I'm like, hey, Kyra could apply this to what she does. And she's artistic as well. I mean, she loves.
Yeah, with like acting, it's like you're up against like 100 other actors that look just like you or sound just like you, type of thing. So how do you break through an audition, or how do you sort of stand out, type of thing? And it's really like, it's something that every creative goes through. Like, how does this podcast sort of stand out and get ears to listen to it type of thing. So how do you be different? So it's like a lot of that stuff, trying to communicate that in the book. Sometimes it's, like I said before, it's like a numbers game, or, if you're an actor, how do you sort of navigate or network with people and sort of like have people know who you are before you even meet them type of thing? Or how do you get a buy-in or sort of like the thumbs up from an agent who wants to represent you and type it. So it's like all these different little things that sort of come with it that overlap over all creatives, no matter what they do. So it's like trying to make sure that no matter what you do, it's like you can really, really sort of get this book and sort of figure out at least something in there will help you out. That was the biggest goal. Is like, $20 will investment into your practice will help you grow tremendously. So, I mean, that's like was the goal for me in writing this thing. And for me, it was like I said before, it was like, it's not really about the number of books sold. It's like, I want this to be more of a word of mouth sort of thing where people are like, oh, you got to get this book because this is why I'm now in this museum, or this is why my career sort of pivoted and sort of went in this direction, and now I'm prospering, things like that. So it's like really trying to make sure it's sort of like the people's champ. It's like the people's book, rather than me sort of like always trying to push it down people's throats. And the book marketing, the book tours and stuff like that. But I want people to sort of just really get it, read it, and if you love it, it's like you pass it on to the next person, and you're telling them about how it sort of changed your practice and everything. So that's the biggest goal, is like making a big impact in artists and creatives' lives as much as possible.
Well, I definitely think that you created something amazing here, and I feel like it should be every artist should own this book, nice. But it should be a text. It should be a textbook in any art school, or anybody that's considering the career path of being an artist. This is the book you got to have in your toolkit. Let's talk about some of the important things you think are in this book. And one of the things and I got this sense when I went to that event and you were talking, you seem like you're very regimented, and that you really manage your time wisely, which a lot of artists, I feel like some people do, but a lot of people don't. Yeah. So talk to me about some of the tools that you use to like manage your time as an artist.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a section in there that has a cloud share and like calendars. So like a lot of times you sort of, lose time or just like waste time by not being organized. So for me, it's like important to really get organized, the calendars, the emails, responding on time. And then like I don't think I put this in there, but there's like, I started going from when people asking me to sort of meet and do stuff. It's like, I would always say, okay, what schedule is good for you? But now it's like, I'm starting to give them dates and times that work best for me. And that helps out a lot, because sometimes that can eat up your time a lot. So like some of those strategies really help out. And it's like some of like those smaller things really add up to where it's like, oh, now I feel like I have 3 or 4 days or 3 or 4 hours of my day freed up. But for me, it was like, it's been really good to do like the cloud sharing type of thing and making sure I'm really organized, because when opportunity comes to me, usually it's like, I need an artist statement, or I need this, this, and this, or I need this, this, and this. And then, it's like, I just share my folders and they have it all in front of them, rather than going back and forth with emails or going back and forth with like, okay, what do you need here? What do you need there? It's like, here's a folder, has all my videos, all my photos, profiles, it's all categorized. It's all in sort of like subfolders of artist statements and things like that, to where it's like, you have everything in front of you. I don't need to sort of go back and forth and waste a good hour or a day of my time. So, and then some things like just waking up early, getting up early to sort of get to the studio early, to where now it's like you're using that sort of morning time when everyone's sort of asleep or just getting up to do the emails, do all these other things. And then, when it's midday and, it's not the getting to work traffic or getting off work traffic, that's when you do your errands. or, do your errands super late at night type of thing. But usually it's like midday when everything's open. So it's like things like that I've been using to sort of are just like to save time and to be as efficient with my time as possible. But really, it all starts with organization and keeping a schedule, keeping a planner, making sure, you have like a shared Google Drive or a shared folder to where it's like you can put everything in there and sort of just get your sort of life straight, or just like your practice straight. That way it doesn't feel like you're running around or having to reinvent the wheel every time a new opportunity comes about. It's like I have a W-9 on deck on my folder. If someone needs it, it's like I just change the date and send it out type of thing. So it's like it saves me, a good 30 minutes of having to download it again and write everything in there. Oh, what was my EIN number for my business, or what was this type of thing, and then send it out. So it's like trying to do that really, really helps out when it comes to, just keeping an efficient and effective sort of practice to where you're not wasting time or energy on other stuff.
What is your biggest time waster? What do you do when you don't feel like doing so? Do you ever procrastinate? You don't.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely procrastinate. I'm like everyone else. Just like that is a good question. What do I really? It's hard to say. Sometimes I like do stuff out of order, to where it's kind of like I'll go out in the middle of the day to send to go to the post office to send stuff, but it's like I'm 50 people deep in line type of thing. And then I stay in line for a good hour. I should have done that at the beginning of the day. So it's like stuff like that, small stuff.
Okay.
That I sort of just like overlook, or just like I just don't sometimes care about because I just want to get it done type of thing that wastes time. And then, I think that's like the small stuff.
Small stuff?
Yeah, the small stuff like that.
So it's not like surfing social media or looking at a new piece of equipment online for like 3 hours at a time. Or
I do that. But usually it's like stuff that I need and stuff that's like relevant to my work or practice. And like, if anything, like I do a lot of podcasts and Netflix and sort of like Amazon Prime stuff, but it's like always while I'm painting type of thing. So it's like I'm painting, but I'm watching a movie or type of thing. So that's like where I sort of fit in my YouTube rabbit hole. Cause I go down a rabbit hole when it comes to YouTube a lot. I'm watching like a current affair, and it's like all Australian based. So I know a lot about Australia, and I'm like, why do I know this? Because it goes on like the sort of the automatic play. So it just keeps playing videos of a current affair, like investigative stories about stuff happening in Australia. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me just watch another clip. But it's like while I'm painting,
right?
While I'm doing that, or while I'm fabricating something. Which is, I could be using that time better, but it's like, I gotta have some fun time in there.
Sure.
But it's like stuff like that really sometimes waste a lot of my time and stuff. But really, it's like I tell all artists to really just get organized. It's like I got my taxes done this year already. I have an accountant, talked to him 2 weeks ago, I think right before the event we did, and talked to him about what I needed to do and checks I needed to write. And, he does my personal and my business stuff at the same time. So it's kind of like getting that stuff out the way, having like a QuickBooks account to where it's like everything's sort of organized in terms of like the stuff I spend money on, stuff like that is really big. And that helps me from like going through and seeing, okay, how do I separate my business and my personal? Okay, how do I keep all the receipts and let me calculate everything? It's like, I don't have to do that anymore. It's like, that would have taken days for me to just figure out and frustrated me. But like, it's like doing the work ahead of time sort of eliminates a good 3 or 4 days of just like stress and then making mistakes when it comes to that stuff. So organization is the biggest thing, I'd say.
So one of the things I want to talk about this book, because this isn't going to just teach you about various things that you need to do or think about as far as how to get in galleries and shows. It talks about all this, but you talk about those hard subjects too that most artists stay away from, and that's the money side of things, things that you need to be thinking about. Tell me a little bit about what you talk about in the book as far as talking about financial stuff and insurance and all those things.
I mean, like, I have to pay $475 every year for general liability insurance because, the city requires that. And then a lot of these developers require that when you're working on a big project with them. So like, I have to get that in order, and that's going to be an expense every year. But that's going to protect me, if I'm on a ladder and paint spills on the floor and it's like, that I'm responsible for that. Or if I, have something fall on top of a car, it's like, now I'm responsible for getting paint off a car type of thing. But I'm responsible. But that's like something that when you're trying to grow as an artist, it's like things you have to sort of think about. And it's different for everyone. But I paint, so it's like I have to do that. But it's also like, just as simple as like getting registered as a business so that, you can sort of get everything organized and have your practice sort of recognized by the state. So that's like you're not doing stuff as an individual and exposing yourself to sometimes liability. Registering as an LLC, limited liability company, helped me out in terms of just like separating sort of like the Thomas Evans from the Detour, so that, when I'm doing stuff as Detour, I'm protected and people are paying the Detour, the company, and then I'm able to separate my finances from personal to Detour. So now it's like at the end of the year, it's like I know exactly how much I made personally, and I know how much the company made, how much goes in, how much goes out. So like even getting a bank account is important to sort of separate those two. Getting a credit card, something you can easily charge to the business, is important because, the more you mingle your personal and business, it's like the harder it is to sort of separate those at the end of the year. Even, figuring out ways of collecting payment for the work that you do. It's like, okay, now I have to sort of figure out contracts and sort of figure out, how do I take payment? Is it through cash or is it through a card? How much percentage is the card reader going to take from me, type of thing. So knowing that really helps you out, because like all the creative stuff that you do, even if it's just acting, like you said your daughter does, it's like it takes time, money, and resources to do that stuff. And there's only limited amount of time, money, and resources that you have. So it's kind of like you don't want it to sort of trickle out. Like I was telling other artists during the event, it's like you have a bucket and you have money coming in. And then as you start to grow, it's like people start to poke holes in it and you get money leaving it just as fast as you put it in. And it's like, how do you sort of build your sort of practice to where money isn't always leaking out all the time, or you can sort of put more money in faster to where it's like, now it's leaking out, doesn't feel as bad. Just getting your finances organized is super, super important for any artist, because just like you just don't want to have your practice sometimes be a burden to you. So like I'm able to create in my space comfortably because I know, it's not taking anything away from another part of my life at all. So understanding a lot of the finances is important. Like even just understanding when do you need an accountant? That was a big hurdle for me. Is like, okay, it costs money but I don't want to do it. And it's something that I'm not good at. So I have to sort of figure out ways to outsource, this part of my practice, or getting accounting services, the cloud accounting services through QuickBooks. That costs money, but it's like it helps me out a lot. So like teaching artists that part of it is a daunting task, because a lot of artists just don't want to do it. It's something that's, it's not talked about. It's something that takes a long time. And it's like sometimes it's complicated based on the stuff that you do or the work that you do. I know being an actor, it's like you got to take acting classes. You got to get headshots. You got to sort of figure out ways to promote yourself. Like, how do you do that? but also bring in money at the same time. Is more money going out than in type of thing. Just figuring that stuff out will help you sort of relax and have a lot of stress off of you while you're trying to create. Because that's one thing. It's like you just want to be able to create as much as you want to, and not have to feel like you're stressed out because you need this bill paid or this client hasn't paid at all. I have one client sent the invoice to last week that is on dead silence right now. So it's kind of like, ugh, it's like I may have to go through that whole thing right now. But it's like, learning about cash flow.
Yeah.
It's like you can sort of pick up as many jobs as you want to and sort of like have a lot of these sort of payments coming in, but if the money isn't coming in physically, it's like you have cash flow problems. If you're getting a job, you take on a big job, are they paying you up front, a down payment, or are you getting all at the end? I mean, that sort of affects like your cash flow and how much money you have to sort of buy equipment or supplies and stuff like that. And usually, if you're working with a big brand, usually they have like a net 30 after the end of the project. So it's kind of like, oh, I finished the project, but I don't get paid for another 30 plus days, so it's like you got to worry about a lot of that stuff as you start to grow as just a full-time creative. But just knowing that, or just like having that conversation, I think sometimes helps artists to sort of figure out, okay, how do I need to do it for my sort of area or my practice?
It's a stressor sometimes too. I mean, money is a huge stressor, and I'll tell you what, you mentioned a client that, went dead silent on you. Yeah. And I had that same experience recently, and it's stressful. It's like, I don't want to have to like be that guy. I don't want to have to harass him, but you have to do that. You have to sometimes. Yeah.
And there's an art to sort of asking for your money.
Yeah, there is.
Without burning a bridge. Like you don't want to burn bridges, but it's like you want to figure out how to get your money as soon as possible. This is very, very stressful. It's like one of the questions you asked me was like, what do you do with like a big check and everything, or a big, like a big payment that comes in when it's like from a big brand or something like that. And, it's like, I try to put it in a savings account, and that's like has interest and everything. So like learning more and more of the finance part of it, and just finance in general, not just like art finance, but just like learning how money works in general. That's been helping me out a lot. If I put this amount of money in a savings account or a CD, and then, over the course of a year, that can actually pay for a couple of months rent type of thing. So like learning a lot of that stuff really helps out. So, I mean, the book really just has like the basic sort of information, but like for me, it's kind of like getting deeper and deeper into the weeds of like, okay, how do these royalties really break down if I sort of like allow this company to use my artwork? Or how does this sort of break down if I sort of partner with this brand to use my artwork? So like getting more and more into the weeds when it comes to that, I'm starting to do. And hopefully it's like if I do a second book or something, I'll have some of that stuff in there. Because those questions are the questions I get a lot when people sort of DM me on Instagram. How do I sort of talk to, or what do I price my work when talking to this big brand or this big company? A lot of times it's like you'll learn like these are big companies for a reason, because they don't pay people. They're just super cheap type of thing. Or it's like they make money a different way, and you got to figure out how to sort of fit your work into there to make money off of the back end of it type of thing. So it's like I'm learning a little bit more and more about that through the lens of an artist, borrowing a lot from the music industry too. It's like you don't have to sort of just stick with the artist. It's like, how does a Drake sort of approach this, or how does like a regular sort of Taylor Swift or a smaller sort of musician sort of approach this with a big company? Because I mean, musicians are sort of the biggest brand influencers today, so like why not borrow from their sort of model and sort of how they go about creating the art that they want to, but also like working with these big brands to sort of bring in, supplemental income so that they can just sit down and create when they want to. Because that's what we really just want to do, is just create and not have that sort of stress. So how do you get sort of other people to pay for you to sit down and just create?
I like the whole section that you had on securing sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I did business school. It's like we always had like these case studies, so like learning about why businesses rise and fall, and then learning about the inner workings of a business. And like, oh, I didn't know, it was one of the big ones that every business school had was Auntie Anne's pretzels. That was really big for a while in malls, like why they go up and down. And then it was like, oh, okay. And then you start to get into business plans and like writing business plans. And then, but most everything is like, how do I get buy-in from other people? So that's like one of the biggest things in business, like selling work or selling our product or even marketing our product. Like, how do I get buy-in from people? How do I sort of sell this product to people? And then when I transitioned to the art world, it was like, how do I get this buy-in or sell my idea to a gallery or a collector? Now that I'm creating bigger projects and sort of growing, it's like, I want to do this big project. How do I get someone else to sort of buy into or pay for it, this project to come about? And usually it's a business. And then, okay, what type of business do I collaborate with to sort of do this project that I want to do? And then it got into, okay, learning more and more about how those businesses are structured. So like, with any business, like they have a marketing department, and then that marketing department has people who do social media or partnerships or brand ambassadors, things. It's like, okay, who do I talk to from these departments? And then even understanding like these people are 9-to-5ers. It's like when approaching them, you have to have an idea and have them buy into it and sort of give them a proposal that benefits the company as well, and try not to get them fired. That's one of the things you have to worry about. So like for me, it was like, okay, this is the type of proposal that I need to do. How do I get them to sort of get the same vision that I have about this project that I want, and sort of have them say, oh, I see what you're trying to do. I can envision it. And I think that our brand would be great in terms of helping you out this way, and this way. So like, that's just what I did with Ancestry DNA. It wasn't sort of like asking them for money. It was like, okay, what do they do best? They do DNA testing and database stuff. So when I was doing a project pairing African Americans with these African artifacts, and I wanted to do DNA testing on them, I was like, okay, this is a project that I think they would really love. And let me just ask for them to pay for an account and all the DNA kits that I needed to do, and then figure out how to go from there. But it was like talking to them. I didn't know who to talk to. I looked on LinkedIn, which is like a great source for sort of finding out who's in that marketing department and figuring out, how to best connect with them. But it was through social media, like sending them a personal message on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, and then also sitting in test shots of the first photo shoot I did and saying, okay, this is what we did. This is what I want to do with your DNA kits, and this is how you can help. And this is the dates of the show that we want to do. This is the goal of the show we want to do. So it's like someone reading it is like, oh, this is what they're already doing. We love the aesthetics. We love the project. They're already doing it, so they're invested. It's not just like they're saying, hey, we want money from you. It's like trying to get them to say, hey, this is someone that's already doing it. We see their vision, and they're asking us for something really specific. This is how we're going to approach this as a brand. And they sponsored us, and they even flew people out to do a little profile on the show as well.
Explain that project real quick, because I mean, that's really interesting. You talk about it in the book, but explain that project to our listeners so that they have a better sense of what that all is about.
Yeah. So when I came back from when I was in Tanzania, people kept thinking I was Tanzanian, which is normal. And plus, like, the tribe has a gap in their teeth, the front top row, and I have the same thing. So it was like, I was really interested. Yeah, I was really interested in terms of like, just like, oh, am I from this region? A lot of African Americans have that sort of question. So like when I came back, I got my DNA tested, and really interesting sort of conversation with people. And then I ran into this African art collector, Paul Hamilton. This is like when I just started out doing full-time art and doing paintings, but I was like, oh, let me get into some photography as well, because I did in the past. And I was like, I visited his collection at his house, and usually, it'd be in like a museum, but all his pieces were at his house. 30 years of just like collecting African art every day, and this huge collection. I was like, we have to do something with it. So I said, let's do this small project. And I was like, let's pair African Americans in the community with your artifacts and have them come over and pick one, and then we do a DNA test on them after we do a photo shoot and see how it sort of comes full circle. What part of their lineage links with the piece that they sort of got from your collection. So we did the small little test shoot and everything, and it was only supposed to be like a small project, like a pamphlet, but turned into like us saying, hey, this came out really good, we should do a show, we should do booklets, we should do this and this is how. So it started to grow and grow and grow, but we wanted to, find funding for it and everything, or find like some resources. So we got this show to be at Redline, so they gave us the space for free and everything. And then that's where Ancestry DNA came in, where it was like, okay, I don't want to pay $100 for each kit. That's going to be like a grand to do all that stuff. And, I'm not thinking of getting paid for this project, but it's like, I got to figure out, how I can find resources for it. So that's when I was like, let me do a little test shoot and write a personal email to them, and then, or message to them, and, figure out who to send it to, but I couldn't figure out who to send it to. So all I could find was, the Instagram, the Twitter, and the Facebook. And they're not sort of like really, really heavy on social media. So it was like, okay, I think I could sort of get someone to actually see it. And usually it's like an intern or some young 20-something doing social media stuff. And they see it and they're like, hey, boss, we got this message. And okay, what do you want me to say to them? And then usually it's like, oh, send it to this email. So they told me to send my email to that email, and then, or my proposal to that email, and then did that. And we had a conference call, told them about the project. They loved it, gave me an account, sent over a bunch of kits to use. And after that, it was like, we did the project, sent them like the results of the project and everything. And then they sent, they were doing like a partnership with a publication from the East Coast, and they had that publication's media team fly out to do a sort of profile on the actual show. So they did a profile and everything, and then we even had like a couple other sort of publications sort of pick us up as well. From there, it was like, to get that show out, I even like went through the internet looking at blogs of like similar sort of art projects or similar sort of projects that were in the same vein. Did a database of every writer that was writing about that stuff or writing those articles, finding out their email, their website, and like sending them all emails about the project. And it was like personal emails. So it wasn't just like a little press release. It would be like, hey, I see your stuff. I read your stuff a lot, and I want you to know about this project that I have going on. And, it's about Ancestry DNA and blah, 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 blah. But, that's how I got into the Huffington Post for that project. And then got on CNN's website for that project as well. And then a couple other publications as well. But it was just like, grassroots sort of, figuring out how companies work, who to talk to, how to talk to them, how to sort of like get them to open up an email and not sort of just throw it away because it seems like another sort of cookie cutter PR blast. How do I sort of like stroke their ego in a way to where it's like, oh, this person actually read my stuff and they want me to sort of read their press release and sort of check out their show and everything. So it's kind of like, that's what a marketer would do normally in a business. So it's like, you have to do that yourself as a creative. So like, that's what I really got into. And it takes a lot of time. Like all that stuff really took, weeks of doing, like actually sitting down, like going through 10 hours of just like scouring the web to find various articles in the same vein, and then putting it into a Google spreadsheet and getting all that information, and then, writing a personal email to each of them. And then they change too. So it's kind of like a lot of those publications have high turnover, and then the publication industry is changing as well, so it's kind of like you just always got to stay updated on that stuff. So, I mean, that's like a small little sample of just like, how I was trying to get sort of sponsorship and everything. And then it's like a lot of relationship building. So like the person who wrote about me for Huffington Post wrote about me before for another project. I just kept his contact and everything. Went back to him to sort of like, hey, I want to give you an update on my progress and blah, 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 blah. Here's my project and everything. It's like building those relationships really matter. Getting a partnership with Red Bull was that same thing. It's like I worked with them for 8-9 years on various projects, but it was like, approaching them when I had an idea of this latest exhibition that I wanted to do, writing a proposal, talking to the people that I knew a long time, and basically their higher ups knew me because they worked with me, 8-9 years ago as well. So it's like building that relationship is really, really big. And like I said, it's like trying to figure out how to have them envision the same project you have in your mind. There's like a skill to figuring out how to communicate that abstract idea that you have on paper. What visuals do you need? Do I need to sketch it out? Do I need to sort of take sample photos? Do I need to sort of have all these sort of quick one-liners to sort of easily explain what I want to do? Because as borrowing from like the movie industry, when like a writer is trying to write a new movie and they're trying to sell it, they're like, well, it's like the Terminator meets Forrest Gump type of thing. It's like they use taglines to sort of help you explain it. And the same thing can be done with, trying to communicate your idea with big brands to have them sort of understand exactly what you want to do as well. So, I mean, that's like a small gist of sort of like how I've been sort of approaching sponsorship and partnerships with people. There's a real art to it, and you really have to be sort of doing it and experiencing it to sort of really get a lot of the nuances in terms of, I need to approach this person this way, or I need to send an email to these people this way versus this way in this company. So, it's like doing that for a long time, I think really, really helped out. I mean, that's where like a lot of the business stuff comes into play, thinking about it that way. Because, sometimes you can sometimes leave it up to chance, but it's like to get where you want to be, it's like you don't want to leave it up to chance because nothing's guaranteed at all. So it's like you trying to like push the chips in your favor as much as possible.
Want to hedge those bets, right?
Hedge those bets and everything. So like doing everything possible to do that. Like now it's like I'm consistently on LinkedIn now, trying to promote myself on there as well, because a lot of times those developers and sort of like these decision makers aren't always on Instagram all day, like the younger crowd, or, they're not on Facebook. It's like sometimes they're on LinkedIn, and my mural passes their eyes when they're scrolling their feed in LinkedIn. It's like, oh, who is that? Okay, let me see how they're connected and everything. So, okay, let me reach out to them. Just like using everything possible to sort of get out there and hedge your bets.
And the written communication skills, those are really important.
Oh, yeah.
People don't think about it, but it's really important to be able to convey those ideas via the written word.
Yeah, I mean, learning how to talk to people is big. Just like how to connect with people. Like I should have put in the book, like, just like sometimes just like taking an improv class could be good, or taking, a theater class or something like that could be good. Cause, it's like, building relationships is all about communications. So it's like really good just to know how to think on the fly, connect with people, what to write. There's a developer that's sort of like my age and sort of like, loves my work and everything. I talk to her differently than I talk to someone that is, 60, 70 years old and sort of like really straightforward. And, so it's like learning how to read people. So it's like, what is it called? Emotional intelligence. It's like you really have to have good emotional intelligence to sort of figure that out. I mean, artists aren't known for that, but like the artists that sometimes really sort of make it, they have great emotional intelligence or good BS. Good BSing skills, I've met a couple of those too, but it's like trying to build relationships and meet with people, because that's how you can get picked for a residency or have someone who's on a selection committee sort of like push yours to the top of the list type of thing. So like really knowing how to communicate with people is really big.
Talk to me about your use of social media and how important you think that thing is.
Yeah, I mean, that's like almost half my day right now. It's like social media, like when to post, how to post, especially because I do the Art Tip Tuesdays as well. So like, that's like why I'm on Instagram, at least, posting at least now twice a week, 2 or 3 times a week. Before it was like almost every day. Sort of slowed down because the projects are bigger, but social media is like where I get, half my income from social media. So it's like not directly like people buying it on social media, but it's like a collector will hit me up about a piece they saw, or, a building owner is like, hey, I saw this, I follow you for a while, I want to buy a piece from you, or I want you to do a mural on my building type of thing. Or, my friend has a piece of yours on his wall. He told me about you and I just started following you. Can you do a commission, or do you do commissions type of thing? So that's like where, social media definitely comes in handy and just like expands your sort of reach beyond just like your local network and sort of gets into other states and countries and territories. So for me, social media is really big. And just like, going through my social media, my feed, it's like you're able to sort of go all the way to the bottom and scroll up and see how I sort of changed over time. So a lot of people will go do that and sort of see how I changed over time. And that sort of gives them more of a story, because as I've been learning a lot about sort of why people buy art, and a lot of times it's like they want to collect almost your story in a way, or they want to collect you in a way through your piece that you did. That's they like, because rarely do people sort of come into a gallery and buy stuff without knowing the artist and the background and everything. You can go into Hobby Lobby, do that easy, but like they want to know a little bit more about you. So like social media sometimes is capable of telling like your story in terms of like where you've been, what you've done, your personality. I met a couple people, they were like, oh, I feel like I know you. And this is like the first time meeting you type of thing. So like they've been following the Art Tip Tuesday and they love the Art Tip Tuesday. So they've been listening to that thing for a good, 3 years. And it's kind of like they finally get to meet me. So it's kind of like they think they know me. That's why they sort of buy into the work that I do. So like having that social media to sort of communicate what you're all about is like, that's key nowadays, because like I said, people really want to feel like they collect the artist more so than sometimes the actual artwork itself. So having that social media, it's like you're able to have people in Japan know you, Korea know you, Africa know you, Europe know you. That is where it really, really helps out, is sort of like that reach and sort of like being able to tell your story. Nowadays, it feels like people are collecting signatures. The signatures at the bottom of the actual canvas or the piece, more so than the actual artwork too, because they want, like I said, they want that piece of you as well. So, I mean, teaching artists that is really big, because sometimes people are like, I spent 10 hours on this piece, or I spent 10 months on this piece, and it's not resonating with people at all. But if there was a story behind it, then it starts to resonate. Like I started borrowing that concept from sort of like sports, because you can get the same level of competition, or not the same level of competition, but just like the same excitement from 2 boxing matches. But if I don't know the 2 people in a boxing match, it's like, why am I watching this? But if I know Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are fighting, or, if you're seeing like, the Lakers versus the Celtics and that history, it's like there's a history behind it. So it's like you're more inclined to watch it and see what happens. That's why, they do all these different profiles on athletes now. They want you to know about the story so that you're invested in, watching them perform. If I didn't know them, it would be like, I don't know who LeBron James is. Why am I watching LeBron James? But his history. So it's like you're watching. So it's the same thing with artists too. It's like we both can do the same painting, but when people know about your history and know about the story and know about why you use a certain color or why you don't use a certain color or why you do this versus this, or how that sort of painting came about and how you sort of came to create the style or whatever, they're more invested in that piece because they connect with it. They know more about you through that piece. So, I mean, that's what I've been sort of really, really learning. And social media is like a great way of like bridging that gap of them not knowing you and them sort of like being really familiar with you.
So of the social media platforms you use, because you mentioned Instagram, you mentioned LinkedIn, what other ones do you typically use?
Really it's Instagram. And then I started to do more and more, like I said, on LinkedIn, and then Facebook is really big, but more so Facebook groups.
Okay.
Like posting in certain groups.
Oh, okay.
So doing that, because like I said, it's like you want a community that can connect with your work, not just like a random art piece you're putting up. So that's why I also started doing like Reddit too. So Reddit is really big. So having sort of like those subreddits that are, it's a swamp in there. So like finding the right space in Reddit, you can really get a lot of traction for your work. So basically, figuring out where to post in there is sometimes important. It's like you can get a lot of traction based on where you post. And like sometimes like the most random stuff that I put in there really resonates with people. I also do Twitter, Tumblr, but not as much now with Tumblr. I also do a little bit of TikTok. I've been putting like my old stuff on TikTok. So nothing like super new. That's just when like I remember to put stuff on there. But just like really having like a footprint in all these different places so that they're able to see at least a profile that I have on there rather than absolutely nothing. Or some people are able to just sometimes discover me there, because not everyone is on Instagram or on Facebook or on, Twitter or on some of these other places. So like trying to make sure I'm in a little bit of everywhere. So even Pinterest, like I'll put some stuff up there as well. So, just having like a good footprint. And then that also helps with like social media, not social media, but the search engine optimization, stuff like that. Making sure you're in different places online. So, I mean, that's like my thinking behind sort of the idea of like social media is like getting out there and everything. It's like making sure I have like footprints. So, every sort of article written will help out.
Right. Right.
So like getting small publications just as much as I'm trying to get large publications to sort of write about me, too. So, that's like my idea of like sort of getting out there.
So do you see any other social media platforms that are on the rise? It sounds like you're pretty in tune with kind of what's going on in the social media network.
Right now, like the latest one I did was TikTok. And that's more like skews more towards like the 20 somethings and under 20 somethings. They're heavy on there. Anyone in high school will have a TikTok type of thing. I found out like 2 or 3 months after getting it. It was like maybe 6 months ago. It's like a Chinese company. Right. And I was like, whew. Like, what am I giving up?
Right. Yeah.
So like,
I think there was a lot of concern about that. Like, because it's a government run,
Yeah. So it's like, do I really want to do a lot on here type of thing? So, it's sort of weaned off a little bit. But every social media is kind of sort of like that. It's like you're giving up something. But then it was like, oh, it's China. Yeah, there's no recourse there.
Right, so, right. Well, even Facebook, I mean, they've taken a lot of heat for giving up information about us.
I've been on Facebook since like 07, 08. So I think they have everything they can get from me as well. So I'm like, do I want to give China that? So it's like, do I want to give a whole country? But it's like,
So how do you when you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but so when you approach like Facebook or Instagram, those kind of stuff, I think people understand. Now you're looking at TikTok. How was your approach to that, and how did that differ then from the more traditional?
I mean, I'm not going to be the old guy on there trying to do the new dances at all. I'm not that corny. I can't do that.
Like gonna throw your break dance on there?
Yeah, I'm not. What's the word? I'm not that thirsty. I'm not, that desperate to try to get in with the young kids. But it's like I'll throw in like really interesting videos that may fit that space. You know, it's like finding out how you can sort of fit in there, but like still be you.
Right.
That's the biggest thing. Like, you know, because like there's stuff that's on there that you don't know what's going to be really cool. So, you know, because like I'm introducing myself to a whole new crowd, like someone who's 16,
Right.
you know, they're not on Facebook at all or something like that. It's like, how do I introduce myself to that younger generation? It's like, okay, let me just throw up some of the cool videos, the time lapses I've done, and see if that sort of resonates. And, you know, sometimes I stumble on stuff. Sometimes it, you know, falls flat type of thing, but you just never know. So it's like throwing some stuff up on there that is still you, but it's like it may work, it may not work. Right. That's something that I do with Reddit as well. I posted a picture of myself in front of my mural in like a Be a Good Person shirt, and the shirt just says Be a Good Person on the front, and the mural in the background was Art Blakey, and basically not a lot of people knew who he was, so people were commenting on trying to figure out who it was. And when they knew who it was, they were like talking about, you know, seeing him in person or something, or like the younger generation didn't know who he was. They thought it was like Jay-Z or someone. It was like, or like a self-portrait. And then people commenting on the shirt, like, where can I get it? Or why are you telling me you'll be a good person? I don't want to be a good person. So it was like, that resonated a lot. And it was like a 3-year-old photo that I posted up just like randomly. So it's like, I didn't know what was going to resonate, but that resonated with people because all the stuff around that photo sort of was starting conversation and just posting up from there. And that's how a lot of people found out about my work as well. So it's like stuff like that really happens. But usually it's just like the newest ones are like the TikTok and the LinkedIn now. So like, okay, posting on LinkedIn, what type of stuff should I post? Because everyone's different. Right. Every platform's different. So it's more of, you know, publications that I've gotten, or, you know, a bigger project. It's not like, you know, this is what I had for lunch today. It's not, this is this paint that I'm using today. It's like more of, how do I communicate myself to someone who has a regular 9-to-5 and in a management position or a CEO position or executive position, that, you know, what would spark their interest type of thing. You know, it could be me talking to a class about some sort of business thing that I had in my book, you know, that may resonate, or a big sort of mural project that I did where it's like, oh, someone who does real estate development, they're like, oh, let me look into this individual and see if they can do some stuff on my building. So
you got to be a little bit more strategic and thoughtful about than just throwing stuff up on multiple platforms. Do you A/B test stuff too, as far as like, let me try this and then let me try this with this twist on it and see which one does better, or not so much?
Not really. It's more, sometimes I'm like, I'll throw this on. Sometimes there's been a couple times where I posted something. I didn't want to post everything on my Instagram, but I'll post it on Twitter, or post it in a story, or post it on someplace else, and it gets a good response. And then I'm like, oh, maybe this might be good for Facebook or good for Instagram or something like that. I'll do that, but it's nothing like I'm trying to figure out what posts sort of like really, really resonate. Okay. It's a little bit too deep into the weeds for me. Mm-hmm. I just don't have that amount of time. But then I'll do like, you know, sometimes I guess be more strategic when it comes to my Art Tip Tuesdays posts, where it's kind of like, okay, this topic resonated. Let me focus on this topic then. Or this is something that, you know, most of my demographic won't sort of resonate with. Sort of like sometimes, I wouldn't say I'm past sort of like, okay, this is how you mix a color, or this is how you do this. You know, I was doing that at the beginning, but my sort of network is expanded far beyond just like people, you know, maybe it hits with 10% of the people. But like something where I'm talking about how to network as an introvert will hit maybe 60, 70% of the people I have. Or it's like, how do you get into street art? That'll hit maybe 40 to 50% of the people. So like, I'll be more strategic that way, than just trying to post everything. Yeah. So, I mean, that's sort of how I do it nowadays, but you know, my projects have become a lot bigger, so they take a lot more time now. So I'm not able to sort of do all the social media stuff that I want to do too. Hired, a friend to do my film my Art Tip Tuesdays. So like they're filming it and edit it and sort of post it for me. and then I just comment on it type of thing. It's a lot of work. You're trying to do the social media stuff, but it's like, it's an all-day job. It's a full-time job, just like trying to keep up with that stuff. So like trying to be organized with the art, just like the social media is really big. So I did Hootsuite. It's like a social media management sort of platform where it's like you can post all those at one time or post all those in different ways. So I used to do that a lot at the beginning, not so much now. Because I just really have time for that too.
Isn't that supposed to save you time? Did you find it was?
Yeah, I mean, it saved me time at the beginning. Okay. But even now, it's like, because like you have to sometimes reconnect with this platform, or Instagram doesn't allow you to do this anymore on Hootsuite. And now I'm like, now I got to do this over here. And so it was like, it started to become a little bit more complicated. So now it's like I've been getting a little bit better with sort of figuring out how to do the same catered posts on my phone. So like saving, like doing the keypad shortcuts where I'm not having to type out the hashtags all the time. Or like now I have shortcuts for 10 different sort of keywords that I'll use when I type that in, all the hashtags pop up or all this pops up. And then sort of like streamlining how I sort of post from platform to platform really easy. Yeah, I mean, it's supposed to save time, but sometimes like it's more work than it's needed. Because now it's like, oh, we're not going to support LinkedIn anymore. Or we're not going to support. Now I'm like, fuck, now I got to go to all these other places to do some stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I've sort of scaled back a little bit.
And it seems like they changed their algorithms a lot too sometimes. So, and then all of a sudden you're not reaching the numbers you used to reach.
Yeah. They don't want you to buy ads now. Right. So it's like, okay, do I really want to sort of focus on this as much type of thing? Even like when I first started out, it was like I was one of the only ones doing time lapse and adding music to it. And now every artist can do that. So it's like, how do I be a little bit different?
Right. How do you set yourself apart?
Yeah, how do I set myself apart? And it's like, I got to keep doing that all the time. So it's like, okay, how do I showcase my art in a different way than I was 3 years ago? Because now everyone sort of is where I'm at, last year. Right. So now it's like I got to figure out new ways to sort of get out there. Yeah.
So I'm going to wrap this up because I want to be conscientious of your time. I want you to take a moment and tell our listeners, maybe talk about some of the projects that you have on the horizon this year. Yeah. Some of the things you will be doing.
I mean, right now I'm sort of deep into more of the mural projects. I have to do like sketches for and sort of like I'm working on. But like right now I'm working on a mural in Boulder, Colorado. I forget the building name, but it's like a big warehouse. So working on that one, which is a big project. Working on getting the book out. I'll be out in Atlanta March 31st through April 7th for a mural and a book talk. Yeah, right now it's just like planning a lot of stuff. I'm really just like focusing on the book and sort of like getting projects set up for the spring, summertime, which has been really big. But I have 2 projects. I signed an NDA, so I can't talk too much about that. But it's like, once I get the okay, and if it goes through, those would be like some really sort of like national projects and sort of like, not even projects, like more television type stuff too. So hopefully that will come through. So I'm like crossing my fingers about that. So I got to do an audition. So it's like, so it's like, it's a whole new sort of space for me. So like getting it, more different opportunities, more opportunities is like something that sort of popped up from Instagram of all places. So I'm like, oh shit, this is like, this is something different. So I'm like, this may work out, type of thing. And then another is like another sort of national televised sort of campaign. So it's like they're running for it, but it's like more of like a 5% chance of getting it. But it's like, I still have a 5% chance. So it's like, I'll roll those dice and, so it's like one of those sort of situations where if it does happen, that'll be like a really good project for, the end of, 2020, or 2020. So it's like that stuff right now is, where I'm at. Just like a lot of planning, a lot of just like these projects that, are more towards later in the year. And then, like I said, the book stuff right now. So, but yeah, you can get the book at Barnes and Nobles and Tattered Cover. We're all over Colorado in the Barnes and Nobles, and then New York, Atlanta, LA. And if it's not in there, you can just ask for it, and they'll definitely try to order it. And then small mom and pop bookshops around the country, and then on Amazon. So I think we're number 1 in our category, Art Business Reference, which is really good. So learning more and more about the Amazon publishing world. Just getting a number 1 on Amazon, you have to pay to have that sort of on your book page as well. So it's kind of like, it's weird how Amazon works when you start to sort of like get into the behind the scenes, but Jeff Bezos makes money no matter what you do. You get number 1 ranking, he makes money. If you're the last in the category, he makes money. So it's kind of like, I got the wrong job. It seems like.
Evidently, he's got it all figured out.
Yeah, he got it all figured out. He makes money no matter what. But like, we're on Amazon, which has been really good. And then the book's actual website, betheartistbooks.com. That's the book website. So that's where you can get like a signed book and everything. So yeah, just look that up, Be the Artist, on Google, and you'll run across my work and my book and everything. So that's like the main sort of goal. It's like just getting that thing. Like, it was hard enough writing it. Now I have to sort of like promote it, which is like a whole nother task I've been learning. Is like trying to promote the books, but wanting to get it into classrooms and sort of different organizations and sort of anything creative related. Trying to get into the hands of sort of those places to sort of have them distribute the book as well. So, that's like my goal right now.
So if people want to check out your work, if they want to inquire about a commission, if they want to buy a piece, where do they find you?
Yeah, they can find me on my website at imdetour.com or my Instagram at detour303. That's my handle right there. So those 2 places are where, you can always find me. And it has the contact and my email on my website, imdetour@gmail.com. And then Instagram, I'm on there almost all day, every day. So you can always DM me there and sort of ask questions or sort of ask me about anything.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Where's the name Detour come from?
That's a VHS tape of a big breakdance crew. That was like, I got the VHS tape in like 2000 and maybe 2002, 2003. I liked the title that they had on there, Detour. And I just started using that when I was starting out airbrushing. And then, just used it for anything and everything I was doing. So like, I was doing like a production company for all the events I was throwing, and it was like Detour Productions, Detour this, Detour that. And then when I started getting into more and more canvas work and art and like the murals, it's like, I just wrote Detour. And, there's like, I worked on campus, Ray campus, where University of Colorado Denver is. And there was another Thomas Evans on there, a researcher who had like the same email as mine. So it was like, there's so many Thomas Evans out there. So I was like, let me just stick with Detour. Yeah. So that's where it comes from.
Right on.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
Yeah. Yeah. VHS tapes. Who remembers those?
No doubt.
That's old school, man.
Old school. Yeah. That's what's up.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Awesome. Well, the book is called Be the Artist, The Interactive Guide to a Lasting Art Career. Thomas Detour Evans, thank you so much for your time.
You.
I really appreciate it. And for Todd Pearson
And Wes Brown?
This is Tenet.